Can you checkmate? White is winning here, but you must find the best moves. And first off, we only have 5 pieces, so let's just go through each of them one by one, starting with your king here. The issue is, if you play any king move, you are always going to give black an escape square. That way, black's king is simply too far out and open. You're not going to get a checkmate. We actually have them in a pretty good situation on this side of the board, and we want to keep it like that. However, if we're too quick and we try playing a move here like pawn at the h3 to try and freeze everything, well, then we have a different issue because black can play pawn down to a5, and now they have no legal moves because all of their pawns are blocked and their king is stuck, which means the only way for us to avoid a stalemate is to play a move here like king down to f4, at which point black once again is going to be able to run away, and this is not going to be winning. So what else can we do? If you play pawn to g3 or pawn to g4, this also will not work because black can easily capture. You take back, and after pawn down to a5, we have another stalemate situation, and this is just not a good position, which only leaves us with 2 options, those being pawn to a3 and pawn up to a5 here. If you play a3 here, then the issue is black once again gets pawn down to a5, and we're dealing with a troublesome stalemate situation, which is just not good for us. Instead, you are the one that wants to play a5 here. Why? Well, now black only has one legal move, that being pawn down to h3, which is a free pawn you can take, but you don't really want to capture here because then black plays king down to h4, and they're simply going to take all of your pawns. Instead here, you want to take the opportunity to now play pawn to g4 check. You force black's king down to h4, and we have another critical situation. Here, if you play any random move like king down to f4, well, then black has the response pawn down to h5, at which point they're either going to capture us or we will capture them, but black just takes back and now their king is free to run away, and this is still not good. Instead, we must play a waiting move, that being either pawn to a4 or pawn to a3. Which one and why? Well, here, take your pick. The correct move is pawn up to a3. Why? Well, here, after black plays pawn down to h5, instead of capturing, you can actually play pawn up to g5 here. Force them to capture you, at which point we can play another waiting move, pawn up to a4, at which point black has no hope. After pawn down to g4, you play your king to f4, and now pawn g3. At the end of the day, their king is stuck, and pawn takes g3 here is checkmate.